So while the terrace vines are drying, and then I'm going to go ahead and go forward here to page 11 and also into page 12. So we'll start here with the larger plant, the basketed plant that goes on the ground. This is a plant, I mean, and we're going to start with that. So in order to do that, you will need, if you haven't made the paper tube, I think I made that in my paper video. If you haven't made the paper tube and cut out the little bottom, okay, you'll want to do that. Grab this twine. There is lace in the kit, and then this really scary looking plant, we're going to cut this up into a couple of pieces or so. So you'll need that. So for the big one, that's what you need. All right, so let's start with that. So I had already made the tube here. The thing with making things with the circles is you can really pretty much never get those to be a perfect circle. But in this case, it doesn't matter because we're covering this in some twine. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to put a little bit of tacky glue. I'm hoping I can use tacky glue, by the way, for all of these plants. I just like it better. So I'm just put some on the edge there and go ahead and glue that bottom down. I'm not going to worry too much about how it looks. Usually these kits, if they have you doing this, it's for a plant. Quite frequently, it's for a plant. So you'll get used to cutting those out and just gluing that up, gluing it down fairly well. So that'll dry. While that's drying, then let's see about this twine. So the twine, they say, needs to be 77 centimeters. That seems awfully specific, doesn't it? Uh, wonder if that's really going to be a thing. I kind of feel as if I'm not actually going to cut that first. Yeah, I just really feel like I shouldn't. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this around, and I bet I'm going to want to wait until this is really dry, aren't I? Yeah, I could probably start this and see if it'll stick. Thing is, this is very stiff. It's much stiffer than I would have expected. So I'm actually going to kind of put this around my finger and get this to maybe loosen up a little. If I make it sort of curly like that, it'll actually be helpful to go around the planters because there's a hanging basket that you also use this twine for. Almost very same idea. There was a cone that was made. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to try doing the tacky glue. In order to do this, I'm not going to go all the way up, but I want to go ahead and get, what is that, about 25? It's not an exact science, but what I'm trying to do here is give myself enough tacky glue that I don't have to keep stopping. I'm going to go ahead and start in the back so that I have a right and a wrong side. I'm just going to keep taking this around the edge, and we're going to see how well this works with tacky glue. So we keep going around, and what I'm going to do here is this definitely will need to be the back, because unless I want to be really perfect about it, which I can pull this all the way down like so and press this where the seam is. I'm just pinching that between my fingers, and then you don't have like a little hole there, a little seam. I'm just going to keep going, see if that works. Looks like it did. And I'm also kind of curious to see about Mm. Oh, seems to be fine. So I might, since that did work nicely. Just put another layer here, go up further onto the tube. I probably don't need that much. I think I can smooth this out a little and just keep going. It looks like I need to move relatively swiftly because this is not hard. This is actually going really well. That's good because it doesn't seem to matter if I get a little bit of glue on it either on the outside. I guess I'll find out in a minute, but it's looking pretty good. I don't know if I can go all the way to the top, but I'm going to give it a shot. I can always add more. It's soaking in. So make this a little nicer. A little bit. Just keep on going. When I get to the top, I'm going to squish it down and dab up some of this glue just in case. This goes really fast. It's kind of fun. Well, I think all of this is kind of fun, but it's kind of fun to do this. Didn't expect that. And I'm going to keep going over the end of the paper. And if I'm lucky, oh yeah, good. Okay, so I don't know if that's exactly 77 centimeters, that's for sure. But what I need to do is kind of, that'll need more glue right there. I want to check, make sure these are squished together. I'm pressing these together to make sure that there's not going to be any spaces that might not look good when it dries. And there's a lot of glue on right there, and I don't know if that matters or not. So I'm going to grab one of my trusty toothpicks here, and I'm going to get some of that extra out of there. Just in case it doesn't dry as well as it appears to be drying so far, because I don't want a big clump of glue. I want this to look like a basket. That's what it's supposed to look like. And so we don't want a big glob in there, making it not look like a weave. Okay, so now that I'm up here, it's going really well. Pressing these down some more, so it looks like I can get more on here. I had glue on my hand, so I may need to go and, yeah, take a toothpick in there and you can remove any excess glue or like the little glue bits that came off of my hand. So this is gluing quickly and nicely. So it's not precisely round anymore now, is it? It's okay. It's not going to matter. I can squish this on the inside. I'm going to do that. Take my finger to the inside and I can kind of round that out again. I can make sure everything's doing pretty good there. Okay, now that I'm way up here, I need to put glue. I think I'm going to put glue right up and maybe even over the edge a little bit at the top. I'm running out of tacky glue. Okay. That's looking pretty good. All right, so right here, I want a little bit of extra glue because that's where I'm going to trim, and I don't want it to come apart. once I trim that. So I'm really going to hold that down until it's dry. So that's not going to take very long to dry it all. Okay, it's pretty dry. I'm going to go ahead and clip this. I'm going to see how the top is. And I'm going to do like the other side where I kind of want to adjust this so it's nice and flush. And I go ahead and trim it all the way down. So if I trim that at an angle, it completely camouflages. Now, I think I'm going overboard a little bit or I'm like trying to be more careful than I really need to be, because I think that the lace goes up and over the top of this. But it's just a matter of pride. Okay. So now what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to cut 6 centimeters of the lace, and you're actually gluing the lace and then like rolling that over to the inside so that it looks like just the edge of the lace will show, like the decorative part of it. There must be a seam to it. And so let's pull this. Yeah, there is. Once again, I'm not sure. I'm going to test this. That's the back. I want to test this first and see if I really want to cut beforehand. Let's see what they say 6 centimeters is. Let's see if that's 6 centimeters. I don't like cutting if... Oh, wow. It looks like it is almost. It is almost exactly 6 centimeters. That's wild. But I'm going to cut on the other side of that little circle just in case, because it can always be trimmed. It cannot go the other way around. Now, something else I'm going to do, but this is just because I can't help myself. I'm actually going to trim this lace a little bit. I'm going to get my nice fabric scissors, or one of my pairs, and I'm going to trim in between these very, very carefully so that the lace looks, it doesn't have the webbing in between. Oh, I just thought of something. This kind of fabric could be used to make that porch be a screened-in porch. Not lace, but the backing for this lace, what they use to sew the lace, embroider the lace on. Okay, so that was just, I know, a little ridiculous. I'm very, very, very carefully doing this. And it really, really, really doesn't matter. So I think it's important to be able to laugh at your own ridiculousness. Because if you take yourself too seriously, man, life is going to be rough on you. So let's see how this will go. Looks like you'll just sort of scooch it up. Now my concern here would be that I'm afraid glue might show. All right. That being said then, what's going to need to happen is I'm going to get my plastic holder. I'm concerned about that. So this is my takeout box holder. Lid, I use it as a holder for little pieces that I've already made. I think I said that before in another video, that I like these takeout tops because I can use them to hold pieces I've already made, and they don't get messed with. All right, let's see if we have a right and a wrong side. It's very little difference, but I think this is a nicer side right here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be careful with my gluing. I'll start in the back again, and I'm going to just put the glue on the white, the actual embroidered part, and not, I don't think I'm even going to do that little daisy. I'm just going to put it on this part. And as I go around, that's what I'm going to do is just glue this way. That way I know that that glue isn't going to show. I don't know for sure that it would have, but it darn sure shouldn't now if I do it this way. And here's the wrong side. So we need to glue this where the little circle is on the edge. Okay, so I'm gluing it like that because in a minute I'll go and I'll tuck that under. That's what they're telling me to do. So I'm just going to go along and I'm pressing from the inside and just go along in a happy way doing this. When I redo this um, room, because I am going to redo this, I'm doing it as closely to the model as possible right now. But when I go to redo it, I am thinking about doing that terrace as a kind of a screened-in porch. So I'm wondering if fabric like this would work. Maybe I've said that, but I'm wondering if it would work. Okay. So when I get to the end here, I cut a little extra on purpose. And let's see what the best decision is. The best decision is to trim it a little bit. I'm going to trim this about like so. See if that works nicely, or yeah, I could trim it a little more if I want to. That matches up that way. Not that anybody's going to see that. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's see how that worked. Looks like it's even. All right, so they want us to go ahead and glue that to the inside. So now it doesn't really matter if this shows, but it's easier to use one of the toothpicks. I'm just going to put it on the paper because once again, I'd rather it doesn't show on the outside. And then all we need to do is, I'm actually going to tuck from the front in. That's in case there's some kind of seam. Yeah, see, it won't go perfectly in here. I kind of thought it wouldn't. And it's gonna, see, it's when we go around. If this doesn't look right, or if it matters, I'll show you how to deal with that. But I think it's not really gonna matter. I see how that's like that. And I don't think it's gonna matter. Let me get this out of the way. Nah, it's not gonna show. It isn't gonna show. Not gonna matter. Okay, see if that's all stuck in there. Looks like it is. Okay, that's the back. This is the front. I'm gonna go ahead and put some more glue on this front one though. Okay. All right. That should be fine. Should be okay. Let's see. Okay, so that's the front, right? Yeah. There's spaces in here that shouldn't be. Spaces in the basket. I think it's just the glue's dried. All right. Now, the next thing that happens here, we can get this twine out of the way and some of this other mess out of the way. And we should be okay here. All right. So this kind of creepy looking plant is next. And what we want to do is get rid of this part. So we're cutting way down in there. We want to cut carefully. Yeah, because we want to be able to disguise that. So we're going to actually trim that even a little bit more. Trim it a little more here. Just very carefully down to a really small nubbin. Okay. Because this is supposed to look like some kind of palm, maybe. All right, so we're going to take this, and this is going to go in here. However, I assure you that the better thing to do is to take this thing off the bottom. And don't cut them apart. I wouldn't suggest that. But I do suggest cutting that off. Because then what can happen here, I think this will work beautifully. Yeah, it's a lot easier to glue. It's going to fill up the pot, and it's a lot easier to glue. Honestly, it doesn't even need to be glued if you do that. Yeah. Why glue? Why glue if you don't have to? Just decide which side you like. If there's one that's better than the others. It looks pretty much just exactly like the picture. This is coming loose a tiny bit, which is what I was concerned about. The lace. But that's because I pulled this back out again. So I'm going to need to glue that back down in there. That's actually on the back. I just realized. But if it's coming up, do that, get the glue off the plant. And so let me see here. Would this be the front of my plant? Like so. Looks just like the picture. All right, so we're going to put one plant down. And okay, so now, all right, for the small potted plant, we're going to need this piece. And we're going to need, there's an itsy bitsy little pot in there. This is a tiny pot. And we'll need that little guy. Then the next thing we're going to need up here, see at the top, is the, in my case, I chose to put the dark flower with the pink flower. So in my case, this is the lighter flower. Now, we could do whatever we want in terms of if we want to do, they have it in such a way it looks like they use the dark and the light, but they show that coming off of one plant. So that's really quite confusing. But it's no big deal. This is actually going to be really cute. Okay, I'll show you. So we have that. We have this. So we don't destroy any part of this plant. These little creepy looking, evil looking fronds will be used later. Now, okay, here's what you do to make your life easier, though. You'll see that in the picture, they tell you to cut way up here against the base of the fluffy part. I'm going to actually cut down a little bit farther. And I'm going to do that because I want to see if having a stem on there is going to make it easier to glue. Oh, yeah, it is. It's going to make it easier to glue. It's going to kind of, because the stem will go inside and also you'll have glue around the edge, it's going to be steadier. So this gluing does not have to be fancy at all. You're going to get that in around the edge. I will use my toothpick to make sure some goes in there for the stem because I want that. I can just make sure it's across the top. This is like the not hard to do. Now, if that decides it's not going to stick for me, I could use some super glue on that, but I think it's going to be fine. The glue will come off the bottom like that. It's not a big deal. Just make sure it's sitting straight up and it doesn't matter. Okay, I've got all kinds of things stuck to my fingers. Looks like my skin's coming off. So the next thing is to cut little pieces off of this because this is going to be adorable. You're going to take little pieces and you're going to stick them in here and there in these petals like they're little balloons. It's going to be adorable. So, okay, so there's that. A little bit of here and there. Just really, I mean, you don't have to cut it whatever size they say. Just cut pieces off. And it does tell us that we don't want to use everything. Okay, so don't get too crazy and start gluing all kinds of stuff here because we do want to use for later. So I'm going to grab these and see how this is going to look if I put these in here. And we've got big ones and little ones. So the little ones should go up toward the top. And they have it coming right out of the top. They have some fronds at the top that are blooming. So do like so. Some of the bigger ones would go obviously lower. We could cut these, I think, even more. So this one's hard to hold this. So that one, I'm going to stick that one there because I think that's where it should go because it's the smallest. It's the very tip of that. So, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to use my tweezers here. And I'm going to grab that by that little tip. I'm going to dunk it in a little bit of glue and just do like that. And put that one right at the top. Then I think that I want to cut these down even more. So we're going to do that. I think you need to cut them smaller than what they show. The picture looks like there's really big puffy things sticking out of the side, and I don't know that that's... Okay, try not to hurt myself. I kind of think with my plant, I don't know if yours is different, but I kind of think that I need smaller pieces to go in here. Maybe I'm just making mine more like a cactus. But I kind of think that some bigger ones and some smaller ones are needed. Like there's a hole on the side of my plant, and then that one could get maybe a bigger one like that. So that's all we're doing here. And put your smaller ones at the top and your bigger ones down below. And I think we can just do it however we feel. And it is all one color. Just doesn't look like all the one color in the picture at all. It all comes off of the one plant. But we had extra of the other colors. If you would prefer to have a pink and purple plant, that's fine. These will stick in there. I did not use the super glue. This is mine is a strange shape. I think that if Okay. All right. I'll tell you what. I'm going to hold this by that stem. And this is just a really weird shape. I don't know if yours is like that, but it is. And I'm going to push these down like this. Some of these I glued, some I didn't. It's just this, these plastic plants are not the same. And theirs looks nice and even, and this one is definitely not. It's like that is sticking way out. And it doesn't, I may just cut that because it's so, well, it could just be front and back. I don't know what I'm worried about. My choice here is to do smaller flowers because the big ones, I'll test this, but I'm not sure I like the big ones in there. 'Cause they don't, let's try going up here with the big ones and see how that looks. Well, it's kind of cute. Well, it's kind of cute, I guess. I have more of the little ones that I can put at the top. Just keep cutting whatever size I can do like that and like that. And then I can just cut some bigger ones here for the bottom. Cut some pieces as we want. Little floofies here. And this will go. I'm just looking for composition. I'm not gluing these yet. I'm looking to see how this will look before I glue it all. I'm just going to put that on the back. I don't like it. There's just going to be a right side and a wrong side. I'll put a piece there, but I don't like the way that that is shaped. This just sticks down like that. I don't like it. Maybe I should just cut it. I'm just going to cut it. Because it's not, it might be keeping this from gluing really well for one thing. Just lost that. And I can put some buds in there. So, yeah, I'll just keep going around and doing that, getting them where I think I want them, and just keep going. And you just decide where you want things to be and what size you want the little blooms. And these are going all over the place. Stick one down in here, maybe. And then when I get them the way that I want, then I'll glue these in. That's the way that they show this. It's not my favorite plant. Doesn't look quite the way I would like. But it's not too bad. This one, this is just not okay. Let me pull this up. I'm just gonna, okay. All right, so I kind of know where I want them. It's time to glue. Did I glue all this? No. Let's do this. I could probably, I think that one's glued. This one is glued. Is it? Yeah. Should I glue this one? Nope. Put that one in there. Oh, lost part of it in the glue. Just tuck these in here and there until you like the way that it looks. It's supposed to be very fluffy. And I think the more that I put in here, it might look better with more instead of trying to make every little piece have something. I think or a very, I probably don't need to be as exacting is what I mean. Here, it just needs a lot more. This is another reason why tacky glue would not be suggested. Or I'm sorry, this is another reason that tacky glue is suggested. Because I can move these as we go. So we want to I don't like that one. They use much bigger pieces of floof. I don't know. Oops. That looks similar to what they've done. We need some shaping in here. Not crazy about this plant. But I think it will do. I feel like this needs to be separated more and pressed in more. And then I feel like something should go here. I'm just filling in between the fronds. I think something should go here. I think we need something on the other side. Let's grab something small. I think something should go in here. I don't like this one. It's not the right place. It's too big. Let's make this smaller. If that'll even. It wants to fall apart. I don't know why. I don't know that I did anything different. Yeah, I just don't like it though. Because I can't make myself like that one. So let's just cut some more off. I think I'm supposed to keep some of this, maybe. few of these. So I'm not supposed to get rid of everything. So I'm going to have to make my peace with this plant here pretty soon because we're going to need it for something. It tells us that we need at least one of these little fronds like that for later. So I could sit here probably forever doing this and still want to do it differently. I have a feeling because I think our plants are all different, and theirs looks better in my opinion than mine, which I don't want that. I want it to look the same. This was a troublesome one. Let's try to put it up farther in here. It's not going to. Let's see about this one. This is very large, but let's see how that looks in here. Kind of nestle this in. Way too big. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to let those kind of dry. And this is not quite dry. Because I want to move on. I can probably stand to use a little more glue now because some of this is dried. And I'll just keep adding those until I'm happy with them, but I do want to move on. So, okay, so that's plant number 2. And I'll take care of that later. So we have that little guy. The next thing up is there's a cone somewhere. Let's get this stuff out of the way. There's a cone, and this was in the paper, one of the pattern sheets. Okay, so we're doing on this the same thing, except we need a hanger for this. Now, in this case, I will actually pay attention to what they say for the length because we won't need anything extra. And we do want it to hang at the height that they said. So I believe this says 7 centimeters. Okay, so I'm here, it's 7 centimeters, and it says take apart and take out one of them. All right, that means we're going to unravel this a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and actually cut at 7 centimeters. And we're going to unravel this a bit. There should be 2 strands if they are correct about this. Yep, there are. So I'm just going to twist this apart. Comes off really nicely. And what I want to do is I want to glue this first onto the sides. I'm going to be gluing it as they show in the picture. I'm going to glue down here and glue on the other side. And then I'm going to begin wrapping this with the twine after this part is good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit of glue here. I'm just going to go along that seam. It really doesn't matter because this will all get covered up. Scooch it up, hold it down from the inside, and it should glue very quickly. It is. I'm going to come over here and make sure that I'm over the same way. Put it here, equidistance, and do that. I want to check from up above. Am I straight across there? Yeah, pretty much. Get that evened out and straight across. That looks pretty great. Okay, it's marvelous. So we want to start wrapping. I can push this up a bit. And that is something that I will want to, when this is all made, I'll probably adjust this a little bit so that it's a little bit more natural. So same as before. I'm going to see here if looks like there were two pieces of that. I want to see if this is actually going to go, if this will be enough. I think it'll be enough. I think this would be enough to go around there. There are two pieces of twine, and I have to make sure that I don't use the one piece. Okay, I think this is fine. I personally would, with this small of a piece, I'll tell you, they don't tell you to do this, but I'm actually going to unravel this as well. I'm going to bring this down to 1. This is much, much smaller. And so therefore is really going to require, I think, a thinner piece of twine. I mean, because the twine's just going to go on so thick. It's ridiculous. All right. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a much better decision. I might need more, but I have 2 pieces now, so no big deal. I think it's going to be important that I use maybe my pinky finger. I could probably use a paintbrush or something to hold this while I'm gluing, because this is going to be rough if I don't have something to put on the inside. It's gonna warp and be a pain. So I'm just gonna put a bunch of this on here, kind of even it out a bit. Kind of smooth it out. I don't want a whole lot of extra glue on there because I discovered that it was gonna bleed through a little bit. Everything needs to be covered. Okay. So I'm gonna grab a paper towel. I'm getting covered in tacky glue. All right, same as before. This time I'm going to go ahead and start where one of the handles is, or hanger. Yeah, this is going to be much harder to do. So much smaller. This is, I'm actually going to adjust that, and I'm going to start just on one side of the hanger. Maybe. Let's see what we need to do here, if this is going to be easy or not. Let's try. Got to move quickly because I put a lot of glue on there, and this is soaking through pretty fast. Oh, wow, that's just enough. It is just enough, just barely enough. It's not even actually quite enough on the one side. So we're going to do this. We're going to move this up. I took advantage of that technical problem to sort of clean this up a little bit. It was kind of a mess. So I had just finished this. I barely had enough twine. So you might want to, see, they give us quite a bit of that. And you might want to actually use the longer piece because I'm not sure, I can't remember, but I think that's okay if you cut this. So at any rate, that turned out okay. It just barely made it to the top though. And so that's that. So the next thing that I went ahead and did is I cut these little pieces off. This plant, we had already made one, and we took this part off. Okay, that. And then they wanted us to cut off 8 of these creepy looking little feed me Seymour looking things there. And then, um, so to show here, okay, so I did this, and now we're supposed to weed this out. And if we look, we're going to put the creepy looking things here, and they had us cut 8, but it looks like we'll use 6 perhaps. And all of this is going to have various little flowers and blooms and so forth stuck in there. So we need to thin this out well. All right. So that's what they're having us do. And so we can, we want to be somewhat selective. I think, there's not a science to this at all. But I was unhappy with how that other one looked. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the parts that don't kind of stick out more and I didn't care for on the other one because it wasn't symmetrical. It was bugging me. So I'm going to do that off the bottom, and then I think we could, if we pull these down, we can go in here and we can see, kind of go in this way. And if I do it on that side, then I want to do it over here as well. And I'm just going to go back and forth and try to get a nice symmetrical look. Places for me to put those blooms and have them all fit nicely. Let's see what we have. We're going to need to get rid of probably this one. See how it's doing. It's not too bad. I wouldn't call that symmetrical now. I would maybe do this one here. And let's see. Take that out. These will go down like this. Well, that's fairly good. There just isn't going to be, I'm not going to be real happy about symmetry on this. I just don't think that these lend themselves well to that. I can try to go up here and trim out maybe a small one over here in an attempt to trim this evenly. Let's see. Well, that's not too bad. They bend. They're bent over. They were warped. It's part of the problem. They have this white coating on them. I don't know what that's all about, but all right. So at any rate, I always have these petals. If I cut too much off, I can always glue them back on with a little bit of super glue or something. So I want, let me see here. I need 6 of these. So we're going to need to kind of, um, we're going to need, those are going to be close, much closer than it looks in the picture. This is going to be a job for the super glue, I think. So we're going to go ahead and do it this way. Let me look at the sizes of these. They're not exactly the same. So maybe the big ones have to go. And we just go with smaller ones. Although that seems awfully wide. It goes like so. I'm gonna reject some of these in favor of smaller ones. Okay. I think it's safe to just go ahead and put some super glue on here directly. Pretty sure. And then just take the tweezers and just see how that works. They want it to stick out more than hang down. So that's fine. See how these fit. I think that they will. If they stick, they're going to fit. You could do a small one here and just do like so. These to be separated more. Okay, those will stick in a second here. Oops, well, I say that. Maybe the glue dried. I think I need more super glue. I have some. Might have to grab it here in a minute. So this one's going to be a fiddly. This will be a fiddly job here. It's hard to hold that on the edge. Well, I thought super glue would be better, but I think I'm wrong. Yep, this is a job for tacky glue. This is definitely a job for tacky glue. So it just means with the tacky glue, this is we will need to do something differently from what they show so that this has time to dry. So. Okay, I'll go with one that won't give me a hassle. It's hard to hold this and do that. There we go. I might take some off of the other plant if it's okay. The reason I say this is these are really quite large and I don't want all of them like that. I guess I could tip them out more like that. I suppose so. For heaven's sakes. Okay. I want this one on the other side because this wasn't actually the same. My hanger, I didn't make it the same distance. I see that now. Didn't look like that before. I mean, I didn't notice it before. Okay, let's see here. What do we think about that? Pretty decent. All right, so let's set that over here, I guess, to dry. What we want to do is we don't want to put that together completely yet. They show you putting all of the flowers inside of, like, they show this, that you take this piece and put that in there and like put it in there right now. But that needs to dry now because of using the tacky glue. So we go back to this piece and we can put the flowers and so forth in. I think it's going to be all right. I think that we're still going to be able to fit it in there. We might lose a few, um, you know, I don't know. This could maybe go in there ahead of time, but are those going to fall off? They might not if I'm careful about it. I need to cut back on the caffeine. I can tell that my hands shake, and that's caffeine. Caffeine affects you differently, young people, when you get older. It doesn't always your body doesn't react to it the same way. So all of a sudden, I started to get shakes when I drink coffee. So there you go. More the information than you ever needed to know. Never say that I don't teach you something. So I just did. Oh, maybe that's what I do here. Um, Trim some more. There's just no way to make that pretty. I don't like that. But I think if I make this smaller, then this will glue. Maybe it'll glue nicer. We're trying a few things here to see. It's just going to be that way. No matter what I do. Mhm. All right, let's get some glue on that. Let's get the glue on there. We're going to use some tacky glue. Go ahead and you can put quite a bit on there because it needs to set down in there anyway. So you can be generous about this. Underneath the leaves, want those to stick to the other ones. Okay. Okay. See, it's just crooked. There's nothing I can do. I can keep griping about that all I want, but it isn't going to be um, symmetrical. It just bothers me that it's not symmetrical. I could take another one of these and just stick that in there like I was saying on this side. Now that I have it in there, I might be able to get that to stay. But I don't know. It sticks, they stick out on one side more than the other in this kit. So I can do like so. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Go ahead and put that in there like that. Should be fine. And let's see how it's going from up above. It's not too bad. I'm going to take, let's see if I can find a big one. That's pretty big. Take that one and see about adhering that in this hole. See how that looks. Not so great, actually. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put a flower there. Going to put a flower there. Okay, so the deal with the flowers is we need to take these little guys and we're going to cut off the little tops. I'm going to try something now. I'm going to try cutting it in the middle here and then feeding this through. And, oh, look at that though. These are actually different sizes. Okay. I bet let me see if these holes are different sizes. No. All right. So not all of them are just going to hold like that. But that's what's happening here is we're supposed to take the little button there and that's the middle of what I guess is a daisy. What I was thinking about is leaving a little bit of stem. I don't know if that's a good idea. I just was experimenting to see about that. But I think we can go ahead and cut it off like they said. And this will go in there just fine. I was going to experiment with if there was a better way to attach these, but this will be fine. This isn't going to be difficult to do. It'll be easy. Let's cut that top off and then just pop that right in there. Okay. I got a little glue there. Remove that. That should be fine. Okay. So this one will be easier because this is a bigger one as well. Let's see how that goes. That's great. Keep trying to decide what I'm going to do there. Okay, that'll be fine there. Okay. That one's big for that one. Let's do it on this one. A little extra glue. It is not going to be needed. Clean that up a bit. That's better, I suppose. It fits better in that one. Dang it, did that hit the ground? No. Okay. Should be fine. There's that now. Okay, which one do I want to put in here? It's going to fall all the way through though. Yeah, it's not going to do well. That one's not good. Let's try this one. It's just less of a hassle if you can pull. Yeah, look at that. That's fine. No big deal. I'm just going to put more glue on this than I normally would so that it's really covered. I really saturated that. And then I'm going to push that through, and I can't pull it all the way. So that will need to dry, and there will need to be extra glue in that one to a certain extent. All right, so that dries like that. You can get these. We don't need these. These can go bye-bye. So, okay. So the next thing that we do, we are ready to start to put some of these little bits. And they've got just, like once again, like random sizes to this. Let me just take little pieces off like before. Hmm. All right. Gonna put this one, should be dry. Get this one all full of glue. I want a lot of glue on this, the back of this. You want so that it'll just set in there and it won't be a pain. So I'm going to take this and put this in this hole that I didn't like. All right. The next one. And there's going to be 3. So we need to decide where those are going to be. And I think it's best to put the other 2 on this side because of that leaning issue. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay. I want it to be a little bit on the side so that I can get the other one to fit. Right there is what I want. If I can do it, then when I look at it from the top, I should be able to do this to where they're fairly evenly spaced. Okay, this one's going to be a little bit more delicate because of the way that I had to glue that in, but I think it's dry enough. So let's trim off that end. And let's go ahead and carefully put a bunch of glue on the back of this one. And see if we can, this is also a smaller one. So it should fit in there nicely, like right in here, if I'm lucky. Yeah, it It should. These may require, some super glue after you get them placed. It's entirely possible. But let's look at this. We still have these little buds that are going to go in here. So we can use those to help this look better because still crabbing about the lack of symmetry. I need to let it go because it just isn't going to happen with these particular plants. It just isn't going to happen no matter what. I've got a lot of glue in there that I also will want to kind of, as it dries, I'll want to remove it so that I don't get too much crusty looking stuff in there. And see, this has a hard time adhering. Super glue would be a bad choice though. So let's try doing a composition where this is up higher and that is lower. And then we're going to put some buds in the middle there. Okay. So I started making these. And it looks like they just say to put them wherever you want. There's not a certain place. I'm going to take some bigger pieces off of this. If I can actually get this to untwist, that would be marvelous. But it doesn't look like I can. Let's see how this will look if I put this clump in here. Let's see how that'll look. That'll solve some of the problem of the lack of symmetry. Yeah. Okay. Let's do it. Stick. Do they require any other colors or anything? They were able to get theirs perfectly symmetrical. They had us keep an awful lot of extra foliage. So, I mean, really, we could put different colors in here as well. I mean, some of these actually go for the extra vines that need to be used. So not that, but I mean, you could do some different colors if you want. I'm just going to stick to the pink. They do have enough extra that if you would prefer to do all purple flowers, you could. Now this might sometimes come off. That would be nice. More control over it. So in order to continue to, then what we're going to do is we try to do things in threes. If you're not an artist, then you might not know that 3 is very important. When, when you're designing, when you're drawing, sculpting, or what have you, three is a really important. Three is actually really important in literature as well. Human beings love three. It's in our myths. Now, I don't have a background in music, but my guess is it would be in music as well, that threes would be important. But I don't know. I do know about literature and I do know about art to a certain extent. And I know that three is really important. So that's why they give you three flowers and why I'm going to try to fix any of the lack of symmetry by looking at from the top and creating a three, a triangle. And this is going to continue to fall apart, which means I probably need a bigger piece. So we're going to actually go down a little bit more. And I want to take advantage of that wire. See if that wire, let's go in the distance. See if this wire will help me out. I want a fairly large piece, but I'm not sure how large until I look at this. Pull this off. Okay, let's see if we can go from there. See if that'll look better. There's a lot of glue and a lot of little niblets going on here. So let's see if we can achieve that this way. It'll be too much. Oh, maybe. Not if I do like so. But we need a third one. These are going to be, I really need to let things dry, and I'm not letting things dry. But I will move on from here, I think. And I can do one right there. If I let those stick out more, then I can get a piece in there. Getting kind of hard to cut. See if we can put one in there. And this needs to be adjusted again. Not having a lot of luck with plants. That's kind of the whole terrace thing. Plants are giving me problems. Oh, look at that. See, if I did this with super glue though, this would be a debacle. It's already right there on the edge of a debacle. This is because I didn't glue this one at all though. Let's try that again. This is still not okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I need to leave that be. And it's not bad from this side because I have a kind of the three this way. This side is not as nice because it sticks. It's not doing quite what I want. but I really need to let that dry before I go and adjust it anymore, which I think I will still do a little bit more on that, but we need to put that to the side. And we need to go ahead at this point and get all of this out of the way, if at all possible. And what we want to do is actually attach the side of the building at this point. So we hadn't done that before. And I'm really, really glad. And so at this point, we're going to go ahead and we're going to glue this in. I'm going to glue that in. And then we're going to glue the terrace, which is finely dry, I think. And we're going to take that and we're going to glue that here. And then that way, you know, they wanted some of the vine to sort of hang down from, I think, here. And it'll be inside the building. And we'll be, I think, pretty much finished with the terrace. So we're going to go ahead and just put some glue here. I don't want that to squish out. So I'm not going right up against that. And I'm going to lean this a little bit as I go to try to keep that glue from squishing out onto the floor. Now, something that they did here is you'll notice, and I don't remember if I mentioned this in the other video, but this is bumped up. So they do that, like if I set this way, it's not going to lay flat. This sticks up. There's a space there. And they do it because they this kit is kind of one of 4 rooms or something like that, and you could make this one on the second floor and it could be like a bay window. But I don't know if I've said that before already in the other video, but it's what that means though is we need to be very careful as we go to glue this on, because if we're not careful, it'll just fall right back off. So we want to be careful because this is, you know, and of course you could just wait until that is nice and dry, which I'm not going to do, but I can do that. I need some paper towel here. So what we're going to do is just, we're going to go ahead and put our glue where it's going to touch, which is right up here and along here. So we can just dab on some glue. Yeah, I might use a toothpick here just to make this nice and not squish out too much. Just enough to get that on there. I can scrape it, do things like that easier. So we want along here. And then we want like right here and here. I don't think the middle adheres to this, but I'm going to find out here in a minute. I don't know that that goes right up against it. It didn't look like it to me. Let's find out very carefully. Yeah, it doesn't. I didn't think so. But the end does. Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. This wide spot, don't glue that because it just isn't going to be up against the building. Instead, what you can do is you can glue just that edge. It's going to be a little hard to do without getting it everywhere. But just that very sharp edge, not in the middle, because it's not going to glue there. I mean, if you get some on there, it doesn't matter, I don't think at all, but it's not going to be glued there. Okay, so carefully again, line this up, line this up. You know, I should probably go ahead and glue it underneath. I don't know how much that is needed, but I'm going to do it because we still have plants we have to add. So it's just, I'd rather have more glue than not enough glue. It's just with more glue, more of a chance that this is going to have glue where I don't want it to on the tile or whatever this is supposed to be. So I have to be extra careful and press up against the wall and then down. Because if it shows glue against the wall, it's not going to be as obvious as against this blue paint. So now it is a matter of adjustment to make sure this is even and flush. And I think so. So in order, so then if we look at this, let's see what's happening here. Yeah, this is going to have to be held. Okay, so I found my clips. This terrace is not quite dry, but it's actually finished. And you don't, you know, we made this big plant, and the big plant will go in the corner here. I don't know how well this is to really show, but that plant will go in the corner. This little lilac plant or whatever is on the floor next to it. And then the hanging basket gets hung, I think, in this middle, like this one right here. But we don't actually want to glue that stuff down. So, you know, so the terrace really, for all intents and purposes, is complete. Now, here's the deal. We don't want to glue these down or even hang. Remember, there's some stuff that has to hang sort of inside the building almost. It's attached to the terrace, but it will hang down on the inside. We don't want to do that either. Here's the reason. When we go to do the wiring, which it's one of the next steps, and when we do that, there's wiring that's going to be glued to the terrace across like so. And if we glue everything in, then we're going to be dealing with all of that maybe falling down as we as we go in and try to wire it. So attaching the terrace at this point in time is not a problem, but gluing everything inside of it is a problem, in my opinion. So you do you. But I do want to remind you also, we had quite a bit of extra foliage, quite a bit. There's some that we're not even going to use, but I would keep it. You know, there's a double I think we need to use, or maybe it's this one. You know, a couple of these we do use. Okay. But like we'll never use that. You could keep that for making something else. Same thing with this, and this is not bad. That can be fluffed out and could be used pretty easily. So I'm going to keep that. I would keep all of these fronds, and I would keep those. And then they did ask us to keep some purple ones and a pink one so that you can glue those. So basically that's the end of the terrace. So so take care and please subscribe.